Good, good morning, students. Welcome back to the next class. So close your eyes and pray for 1 second and let us start. Today we are going to see another important life process, respiration. So what is respiration? You already know. It is a breakdown of food to release energy is called respiration. The breaking down of food will break down and energy is produced, and that is what is respiration. And you already studied that energy is used for movement, growth, making of new protein synthesis, and so on, which you have already discussed in the previous class. So now today we are going to see the other details of respiration. There is a small activity given in the textbook. The activity is very simple like this. You take some lime water in 2 test tubes. This is a lime water. Take 2 test tubes and take some lime water. This activity is going to explain carbon dioxide is produced during respiration. And I take to the first funnel, let us name it A and B. So first test tube. Through a syringe, pump air into the lime water. You can see using the syringe, pump air into the lime water. Second one, you through a straw or a small pipe, breathe through it. You can see you have to breathe through this pipe, breathe. First one, you are passing air through the lime water. Second one, you are breathing it out. Your mouth is here and you are breathing it out. And what change you will observe? This one ordinary air is you are sending through the lime water. Second one you can see you are breathing out, or your breathe out air is going through the lime water. After some time, what is going to see? You can see the lime water in the second test tube B, it will become milky. What is the conclusion? Conclusion is this one: carbon dioxide is produced during respiration. So when you breathe out, you can see carbon dioxide is produced. So this activity says that is an activity to show that carbon dioxide is released during respiration. So very simple thing: take 2 test tubes and to one of the test tube, take a lime water in both the test tube and pass air through one test tube, and second one breathe out air. You breathe out through the second test tube, and lime water in the test tube, second test tube, it will become milky, saying that the carbon dioxide is produced. And we are going to see respiration, the details of respiration is the breaking down of food to release energy. And the first step of respiration is common in all organisms. So you can see the first step is the food that is taken for respiration is glucose. Glucose will first break down and it will produce glucose is a 6 carbon containing compound C6H12O6. So it is a 6 carbon containing compound, and this will break down in the cytoplasm. This is actually happening in the cytoplasm, and it will produce a breakdown and it will produce a 3 carbon compound. It is called pyruvate. So this is the first step. The first step is the glucose is broken down into a 3 carbon compound called pyruvate, and energy also, some energy is produced. So this is the first step. And the second step varies in different organisms. And in a human being, the pyruvate, it will change 3 carbon compound. This is a 3 carbon containing compound. glucose 6 carbon, and this is a 3 carbon containing compound, and a small amount of energy is produced, and this reaction is take place in the cytoplasm of all organisms. The second step, you can see the pyruvate again, it will break down and produce final product is it will be broken down to carbon dioxide and water, and this reaction it takes place only in the presence of oxygen. This reaction takes place in the presence of oxygen, and you can see carbon dioxide, water, and energy is produced. So this is the type of respiration that is taking place in our body, and the glucose 6 carbon compound, first it will break down into pyruvate. This takes place in the cytoplasm, and some energy is produced. In the second step, oxygen, it will combine, pyruvate will combine with oxygen, and this will take place in the mitochondria. You already studied the function of mitochondria. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So the second step is taking place in the mitochondria, where it will combine, pyruvate will combine with oxygen, and it will produce carbon dioxide, water, and energy will be released. But this is not applicable to all organisms. But you can see in yeast you already studied. Yeast actually, it will take place in the absence of yeast, oxygen, no O2, and example yeast. And you can see pyruvate is not completely broken down into carbon dioxide and water. Instead of that one, it will be broken down to ethyl alcohol. Change it to ethyl alcohol. It will change it to ethyl alcohol or ethanol. We also call it ethanol. It will be broken down to ethanol or ethyl alcohol, same thing. Formula is C2H5OH. The formula, it is not there in the textbook, you need not remember. So plus carbon dioxide also is produced, and plus energy is released. This is the reaction takes place in yeast. That meaning, if you take some sugar solution, put some yeast, you can see it will change it to alcohol, ethanol or ethyl alcohol, and the carbon dioxide also will be produced, and energy will be released. So this is how alcohol is produced. And the third type, this takes place in our body without oxygen, no oxygen here also. This also takes place, no oxygen, and without oxygen it can take place in our body. And this one is the product is, it is not completely, pyruvate is not completely broken down. The product is lactic acid plus energy is also produced. Lactic acid and energy is produced. Do you know when this one is happening? When an athlete is running, if there is no sufficient oxygen, first step, cytoplasm is taking place. If there is no enough oxygen, he is running very fast and he is not getting enough oxygen. And without oxygen, the pyruvate will change it to lactic acid and energy. Energy is required because running person, an athlete needs a lot of energy. So energy is produced by producing another substance, lactic acid. If this lactic acid accumulates in your muscles, it will lead to muscle cramp. So it will lead to muscle cramp. So these are the three different type of respiration. And here in this one, where in human being, oxygen is used. If oxygen is used in respiration, in the other one, no oxygen is used. Here also lactic acid form, no oxygen, yeast and in the muscles, you can see no oxygen is used. If oxygen is used, this is called aerobic respiration. If oxygen is not used, this is aerobic because oxygen used. If oxygen is not used, it is called anaerobic. No oxygen, anaerobic. So respiration two types are there: using oxygen and using without using oxygen. These are the two types: aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So this is the first step this is the basic step in respiration. Now the energy produced already, in all these cases energy is produced, and this energy is produced. How the energy is stored? You can see there is a substance in our body called ADP, adenosine diphosphate. It is called adenosine diphosphate. Diphosphate means 2-phosphate group. It will, when the energy is produced, you can see it will combine with phosphorus, one more phosphorus, and it will produce what is called ATP. ATP is an energy rich compound, meaning it is like a battery. A battery can store energy, like that ATP can store energy. So meaning this energy that is produced, it will change ADP, adenosine diphosphate, to ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Tri means 3 phosphate groups are there. And when energy is, when you want energy, this ATP will change again back to ADP and phosphorus. Energy at that time, energy will be released. This is at the time of respiration, ATP is produced. When you need energy, you can see this ATP will be broken down. It will produce ADP plus phosphorus. One phosphorus is released, triphosphate, it will become diphosphate, and then energy will be released. You can see. So this is how the energy is released during respiration. So once again, okay, respiration, two type of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. In our body, the usual type of respiration is aerobic respiration, in which oxygen is used. The first step of respiration in aerobic and anaerobic respiration is same. That means 6 carbon atom glucose is converted to 3 carbon atom compound called pyruvate. And the pyruvate in aerobic respiration combined with oxygen, and in aerobic respiration it will combine with oxygen, and it will change it to pyruvate will change to carbon dioxide and water, and energy is released. But in yeast, the pyruvate is not completely broken down. Without oxygen, it will change into ethanol, ethyl alcohol, alcohol, plus carbon dioxide. Along with the carbon dioxide, plus energy is released. Same reaction is taking place. But when an athlete is running, when there is no enough oxygen, the oxygen that is taken during breathing is not enough. In that time, you can see without oxygen, the cells in the muscles can produce energy, but the pyruvate is not completely broken down. It will produce lactic acid, and energy will be produced, and this can lead to muscle cramp also. Now, how plants and animals get oxygen for respiration? For aerobic respiration, oxygen is needed. How do they get oxygen? So, plants, for example, the leaves of the plants, you can see it is having stomata, especially in the lower side of the leaf is having stomata. Small openings are there. You already studied. You can see the lower side of the leaf. You can see stomata are there. Through the stomata, you can see air can get inside. Air contains oxygen, and it can easily go through the space in between the cells, and there are intercellular spaces are there. This air can go in between the cell, and the cells can easily get oxygen by diffusion. So this is a simple mechanism of breathing or taking oxygen in plants. But in higher organisms, this simple diffusion is not enough. But in a lower plants, in plants and lower organisms, you can by simple diffusion they can get oxygen. But you can see during daytime, plant do photosynthesis also. When there is sunlight, they do photosynthesis and oxygen is produced. This oxygen plants can use for respiration during daytime, meaning daytime plants are no need of absorbing oxygen for respiration because oxygen is produced at the time of photosynthesis. But night time, you can see they have to absorb oxygen because no oxygen no photosynthesis, no oxygen is produced. Night time they will release carbon dioxide. Now, organisms living in water, aquatic organisms like fish, they are getting oxygen from the water they are living. So, fish, they are living in water, they are getting oxygen from the water. Actually, the amount of water in the amount of oxygen in the water is less. Amount of oxygen in the water is very less when compared to the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere. So, what is happening is, since the amount of oxygen is lesser in actually oxygen means dissolved oxygen in water is less, because of that one, the fish will breathe faster than higher organisms that are living on the land. So, a question can be asked, why fish breathe faster than terrestrial? Terrestrial means land living animal, because the dissolved oxygen present in the water is less. Since there is less oxygen in the water, they have to breathe faster to get a maximum amount of oxygen. And land living animal, let us see how breathing takes place in or taking oxygen or breathing takes place in higher organisms. In human being, you can see we have a respiratory system, the lungs and the respiratory system, human respiratory system. The respiratory system starts from the nose, you can see it will start from the nose, the respiratory, it will start from the nose or nostril, and you can see this is the mouth cavity. So, meaning you can breathe through the mouth and actually breathe through the nose also. Both these tubes, they are coming to a back side of the mouth. It is called pharynx. This is the nasal cavity, nose cavity. This is the mouth cavity. The nose contains small hairs. What is the function of this hair? Here the purpose of this hair is to filter the air. Air may contain a lot of dust and other things, and to filter the air, hairs are present inside the nasal cavity. Not only hairs, it also contains mucus. Mucus means mucosa, that also is present, and this mucus also, you can see the function is to remove the dust that is present in the air. And both these tubes come to the pharynx. From the pharynx, you can see the lungs, respiratory system chart. The first part is called, after the pharynx, it is called larynx, an expanded region. It is called larynx. The larynx, and this is the larynx. From larynx, you can see the tube, one tube is going down. This tube is called a trachea. Trachea is surrounded by or covered by rings of cartilage. You know what is cartilage? Soft bone. So, it is encircled by rings of cartilage, cartilaginous ring. And this is a function of this one, so that it will not break, and you can feel the presence of these cartilaginous rings here. If you touch, you can see. So this tube is called trachea. After reaching the chest cavity, you can see it will divide into two, and these two branches are called bronchus, plural is bronchi. And again, after some distance, it will get into the lungs. The bronchi plural, bronchus singular. And after entering the lungs, it will start again dividing. Divide the small branches. These small branches are called bronchioles. These small branches are called bronchioles. So many will be there, so many small branches. And finally it will end in a small balloon-like sac. These small balloon-like sacs are called, there are millions of this kind of sacs will be there. These are called alveolus singular, alveoli plural. Plural is alveoli, singular is alveolus. So this is a basic part of our respiratory system. Nasal cavity, mouth cavity, both are connected. Pharynx, larynx, trachea with the cartilaginous rings, and then two branches, bronchus, plural is bronchi. Bronchioles, small branches are called bronchioles, and it will end with alveoli. And you can see when you are breathing, you can see the diaphragm here. You can see this. You already studied this. Under the thoracic cavity, there is a diaphragm is there, muscular diaphragm. This you already studied. When the diaphragm goes down, the space of the thoracic cavity will increase, volume will increase, and the pressure will become less. So air will automatically enter into the lungs and fill the lungs with the air. Alveoli is surrounded with so many blood vessels, blood capillaries are there. Alveoli is so many blood capillaries are there. All are surrounded with the blood capillaries. So you can see when the air reaches the alveoli, when you breathe in, air will get in, finally come to the alveoli. The alveoli is surrounded by blood capillaries. The blood contains a chemical which we already know. The name of the chemical is hemoglobin. A substance called hemoglobin. The air contains oxygen. The oxygen will combine with the hemoglobin in the blood, and this hemoglobin, when the blood go back, it will be distributed to all part of the body. So this is how respiration takes place in breathing, or as respiration takes place in the human being, or breathing and breathe out, it is taking place in a human being. So once again, so these are the parts: nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchus, bronchioles, and alveoli. Alveoli is surrounded with so many blood vessels, and the blood vessel contain a chemical called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin has great affinity towards oxygen. It will immediately combine with oxygen, and this when the blood transport all part of the body, this oxygen will be transported there. And the carbon dioxide, the blood contain not only hemoglobin and red blood cells, it will contain water, and carbon dioxide will dissolve into the water present in the blood, and that way it will be transported and sent out of the body. So this is how. So the blood contains carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide will get into the alveolus, and it will be transported out. So this is how. So when you breathe in and breathe out, even when you breathe out, a part of the air will still remain in the lungs. Whole air, it will not go out, and the air that always remain in the part of the air will always remain in the lungs, and this air is called residual air. So what is residual air? The air that is present in the lungs even after breathe out, and that air is called residual air. So this is how respiration takes place in a human being. Actually, this is the end of that part. We'll stop. Okay. Questions. Some questions are given in the textbook. These are the questions. What advantage over an aquatic organism does a terrestrial organism have? Aquatic organism and what advantage an aquatic organism does a terrestrial organism have with regard to obtaining oxygen? Terrestrial organism, you can see the amount of oxygen in the air is higher, so their breathing rate will be lesser. I already explained. What are the different ways in which glucose is oxidized? 3 different ways. One aerobic and 2 anaerobic respiration. How is oxygen and carbon dioxide transported in the blood? Oxygen is transported through hemoglobin, and carbon dioxide is transported through water present in the blood. How are lungs designed in the human being to maximize the area? Lungs, you can see to maximize the area. You can see so many alveoli. You had explained from the beginning. It is broken down. It is divided into so many alveoli. These alveoli give lot of surface area for oxygen absorption. So these are the questions given in the text too. Okay.